Hello everyone, my name is Paula Muñoz and today I'm going to talk to you about my professional practice experience. First of all, for contextualizing, I worked at Liceo Santa Leonor. This is a municipal high school located in Población Santa Leonor. The school has a student population of approximately 530 enrolled students in the Científico Humanista modality. In terms of infrastructure, while it is not privileged, it is functional. It provides basic technologies, adequate classrooms, and recreational areas for students. The class I worked with was a 10th grade A, or Segundo Medio A. This is a group of 28 students. Their English proficiency, according to the MCERL framework, ranges from A1 to B2, though most are at the A1 level. Despite some challenges related to the classroom coexistence, such as group discussion or conflicts between them, the students were generally empathetic, respectful, funny, and generally interested in the class's topics. This positive attitude helped me make the lessons more dynamic and meaningful. Then for the identification of the learner's needs, the needs analysis process allowed me to gain a deeper understanding of my students' preferences, challenges, and expectations. And aligning with Graves in the 2000s, he said that the needs analysis is done to help students better appreciate the learning experience and to empower them to be active participants in it. Through this process, I was able to identify their motivations, and 94% of students express English is essential for the future. Also, their confidence gaps, 66% of students struggle with listening comprehension, while 55% feel uncomfortable when speaking English. Also, their learning styles, so students express a need for a diverse activity formats to keep them engaged. Also, regarding their skills priorities, students emphasize improving pronunciation, vocabulary, and listening skills. Then, for the alignment with the course objectives, as Noonan in the 2008 highlights, needs analysis fosters alignment between teachers and learning expectations rather than creating a perfect class. For instance, in the unit's aims, I made sure to address the specific needs and preference identified in the needs analysis. Since many students lack confidence in listening and speaking, I focus on objectives that gradually build oral communication skills in a safe and supportive environment. Recognizing their varied preferences for working individually, in pairs, or in groups, I incorporated several activities that aim to those different preferences. Then for the adaptation of content and materials, the needs analysis directly influenced my selection and adoption of materials. In the questionnaire I designed, I include an open-ended question asking students to briefly describe their ideal class activity, and I carefully consider their answers when planning and adapting my lessons. The application of this questionnaire ensured that my lessons not only align with their preferences, but also foster active participation and engagement, as you can see in the activities I'm showing you. I try to include games to start every class. I try to include Mentimeters, Kahoots, EducaPlay activities, and everything I could imagine to students to be active during classes. Then the differentiation strategies. To ensure that the lesson was accessible to all learners and that I addressed the different learning styles, I incorporated these adjustments. So, for activities that involve introducing new vocabulary, I include pictures to make the meaning clear and accessible to all students. Also, their learning styles. I design activities that cater to different learning preferences, incorporating individual tasks for reflective learners, peer activities for collaboration, and group work for teamwork. And I also provide sentence starters and additional visual aids for activities that require creating ideas and sentences, ensuring that all students, especially those who struggle with writing or creating ideas, feel supported. Then in some activities, students were paired randomly to allow them to interact with classmates outside of their usual friend groups. This to promote inclusivity and break the social barriers between the classroom. Then I allowed students that feel anxious about public speaking to present only to the teacher. And this made the activity less intimidated and more accessible for those learners. Next, for assessment and feedback, I relied on 3 questions for my needs analysis. I first asked students about their preferences for working individually, in pairs, or in groups, and I also considered their responses about what they wanted to practice during the semester, and also their suggestion for ideal class activities. These insights guided me in creating both formative and summative evaluations. During the semester, I designed 3 summative evaluations with ideas inspired by their answers. So for the group work, I did a podcast presentation on moral dilemmas in groups of 4. Then I did a pair evaluation. This was a dialogue using reported speech. And finally, the individual evaluation was to create a poster showcasing their 5 most meaningful songs for them. And additionally, I conducted regular process checks by awarding points for the completed activities or worksheets, and that will become an independent mark at the end of the semester, ensuring continuous assessment on their progress. Next were cultural and linguistic considerations. I personally choose not to include personal questions in the questionnaire because I spend many hours a week with them every day, and attendance is generally low, so I had the opportunity to talk to each of them. And this allowed me to engage in casual conversations and get to know them better. Several foreign students also shared their experiences with me, and my classes were always focused on encouraging personal opinions, analyzing topics, and sharing experiences instead of forcing them to answer personal questions in a formal questionnaire. I prioritized demonstrated in every class that they could trust me, and my goal was to create a safe environment where everyone felt free to share as much as they wanted. Next, for the reflection on the effectiveness of the planned unit, I noticed that students primarily needed to build their confidence in speaking English, especially when it came to oral presentation. Many initially refused to speak in front of the class, and to address this, I systematically ensured and encouraged them to share their thoughts on topics that were interesting for them. Over time, participation increased, and students began coming to class prepared, understanding that our sessions were not just about listening, but also about sharing personal ideas. So these consistent practices has improved their pronunciation, their confidence, and motivation. Also, with the process checked, they became more aware of their progress, and that definitely is a success for me. For future adjustment, the feedback I received made me more aware of the importance of setting up the physical classroom environment. I had been so focused on the class itself, like the activities and interaction with students, that I overlooked small important details, like erasing the whiteboards, opening windows, ensuring that the floor was free of papers. So since I received this advice during my first observation, I have made it an habit to spend a few minutes in the beginning for preparing the classroom. And this is a practice I plan to continue moving forward. Then for my continuous improvement, the most important insights of this practice were regarding some aspects outside the classroom. I learned about processes like obtaining UTP approvals, meeting parents, and conducting parent-teacher conferences. These were areas that are not covered in university training, and I had to face these instances without prior experience or idea. So these experiences emphasize the importance of knowing effective communications techniques to engage with parents positively. And since we need to be very careful when addressing parents, I feel like this is very necessary to be able to communicate in a good way with them. And next, for my future educational goals, I am to enhance my classroom management, both in the physical and social aspects, to strengthen my communication skills, as I mentioned, to continue developing strategies to address parents constructively, and finally, to foster my students' empowerment. Then, by continuing to reflect and adapt, I aim to provide meaningful and engaging learning experiences for all my students. These are the references, and thank you so much for listening.